Hello, and thank you for clicking on the video. Welcome to another episode in a new series of Off Meta with the Moose, a series where we're going to start looking into the High Elves and some deep hidden tech that's been hiding under a rock for the first two games, now into the third. Oh, a little glitch there, and kind of seeing what kind of weird stuff that this lower tier faction can do. I've been playing the High Elves for a number of years now. I'd say my favorite faction in the meta. I mean, because what's not to love about taking cool ass dragons? Dragons are just so cool. I mean, whatever fantasy setting you can get a dragon and throw one in there for me, yes please. Have you guys ever read the Naomi Novak series about the dragons and the Napoleonic Wars? The author essentially just took the history of the Napoleonic Wars and was like, what if dragons were there the whole time? It's a great read, very fun. I never did finish it. Maybe I should go back and finish that one. If you're into Napoleonic history or just like history in general, I think it's a really cool stuff. But anyways, on to the game. This game is going to be myself playing the High Elves versus Maximilianaire, tournament winning player playing the Demons of Chaos. This is a quick battle, so we can't say if Maximilianaire was bringing their sweatiest demon army or whether they were just having some fun. We'll never know. But regardless, we're going to get some good action here. For my army, I'm bringing some chariots, the Tyrannok chariots. They are a missile chariot. They've got little archers here on the back, and they do magic damage, which is good into demons, and they'll be able to run over some infantry. Front line of Silver and Guard here, the staunch spearmen of the elves. These guys have high armor and spell resist, which is kind of a unique thing for, besides dwarves and Khorne, I suppose, but for normal infantry, which is nice. And then this is the tech that has been hiding under a rock for years. These guys haven't changed really in a long time. They recently got about 600 HP, I believe, in a patch and like some melee defense, but really not much else. They're very cool, kind of like the Grey Company vibes for Lord of the Rings, like Aragorn's Rangers that they runs around with in the books. These guys have a great melee shot, 25 missile strength there. Not much AP damage, as you can see, but does poison, and great melee stats with a great bonus versus infantry, so they will be able to fight off Furies and other units coming at them. For my opponent, we have the Exalted Lord of Change, the big bird who makes all the rules, follower of Tzeentch here. This guy has a Portoglyph, a Fury Summon, Searing Doom, and Final Transmutation for those blob fights. There's an Exalted Flamer of Tzeentch, which is really cool to see. You see these guys every now and then. They have very devastating shooting damage, but they are quite squishy, so we'll see how that performs. A couple units of Bloodletters. These guys will do pretty serious work into most High Elf infantry, though the high melee defense of the Silver and Guard will make them last quite a while. Then we have Fiends, some mass backing everything up. These are kind of the replacement for Seekers at the moment, which the Demons of Chaos can't bring. Excuse me. This was a quick battle, so my opponent could have brought the busted, overpowered Seekers, so good on them for not doing that in the opening army. And then some Frolickers, Bubonic, the ROR Nurglings going up to take the high ground. All right, let's get into it. So the two armies approaching in the gully, meeting in the middle. Chariots are going to move on both flanks, take the high ground on objective 3. My opponent will use their Nurglings to take objective 1, calling in some Screamers to counter the Chariots, which I'm sending in to poke the objective 1. It's kind of the thing about this lane pushing map broken gully is it leads to these really isolated fights. My opponent's Fiends are in the middle, so that means these Chariots up on the high ground can go in and poke these Nurglings pretty unopposed until my opponent calls something in. My opponent's sending in the Exalted Flamer of Tzeentch to do some damage. Of course, my opponent can't see the Shadow Walkers because I have Fire at Will off and they are hidden. Going to be seeing them now as they pop out, so I'm sending in the shots. We'll see what kind of damage we can get from these hidden units in the meta and literally in the game, and that's good damage. Shield is down right away. My opponent going to start pulling back. I think about diving in the dragon. No counter yet. My opponent maneuvering the fiends, but huge damage coming in from the Shadow Walkers. And that's what's so crazy about these guys is their accuracy. Their damage isn't insane, but their accuracy is off the charts. They just don't miss. I don't know if I've seen a shot miss, and this Exalted Flamer might just be dead. I think they're just dead right now. I mean, normally with, say, a regular archer unit, shots would be going wide, hitting other targets, but every shot is hitting home right now, and that Exalted Flamer of Tzeentch is immediately down. Look at the value lead that causes. The ambush from the sneaky elves coming in. Shadow Walkers are going to turn onto the fiends now and do huge damage. My opponent feeling forced to move forward. But the Shadow Walkers do have fire at will, so they can kite back. And the fiends do not want to be fighting into these Silverin Guard, who will dominate them if my opponent commits. My opponent does decide to pull back after taking a lot of damage. The Exalted Lord of Change moving in on the flank, but popping a Tempest on top. The Fury summon coming straight into the Maelstrom. These demons probably wishing they could go back into the warp. A lot of damage getting shot onto the Exalted Big Bird here as the Shadow Walkers pour shots in. The Dragon diving in to try to relieve some pressure. The lines have clashed now. The Bloodletters are in. The Furies are diving in. So this kiting build could be collapsing now. Exalted Lord of Change going into combat on top of the Silverin there. We have the Dragon trying to get control of the flanks here. We have Screamers diving in, pressuring that Dragon. The Chariots are mowing through these Bloodletters, though. That melee strength there really doing some damage. Exalted Lord of Change is pulling back. Silverin and Bloodletter fighting the Bloodletters. Fiends and Bloodletters will be able to beat Silverin, though Silverin will hold for a good amount of time. Good Searing Doom here, going to really roast those Illyrian Reavers. Huge damage, melting them. More Screamers and more mass diving in. The Dragon pulling back, keeping things safe. Final Transmutation going to be going down on top of the Dragon. Another Tempest, though, on the Exalted Lord of Change. That's why you bring Tempest into Demons, is they're always going to have something that flies. And the Shadow Walkers have targeted that Exalted Lord of Change. Might be getting melted here. Yep, looks like he is going to be going down to almost instantly melted by the Shadow Walkers. Crazy damage from those guys. And now the Bloodletters are hacking their way through, but the spear line is holding. The terrain of this map really lending itself to this archer line. Fiends fighting here will be able to possibly bully this Archmage. Fiend's a really strong unit. Dragon is going to pull back now that the supporting units are gone. Fascination looks like army ability drawn here. Really nice on the Shadow Walkers. My opponent probably wishing they had Pavane for these Shadow Walkers. Of course, a Rampage ability. More Furies diving in, but the Silver Helms of Ulthuan are here, going to be charging in, lancing down into these Furies. Fiends are diving onto the Silver Helms, but they are pretty isolated now. Not a lot left for my opponent. Dragon is turning its big old... I don't want to say beak, but Dragon's sort of a snout, turning its snout in this direction, diving into combat. These Furies and Screamers, and Fiends taking a lot of damage. My opponent is going to tap out after that. Really interesting. I've been experimenting with the Shadow Walkers a lot recently, and I've been having a lot of games go this way. Opponents just kind of forget they exist. Look at that 1,200 value, 1,800 on these ones. They cost 1,000 gold themselves, so that's really solid damage output. And when you look at their stats, you don't see a unit that's just like absolutely cracked, but it really comes down to the accuracy of their shots. They just don't miss targets. Like you can see this Exalted Flamer, who was getting solid value. I mean, 2 shots and it was already up to 500 value is really great, but that's kind of the glass cannon nature of this unit. But countered super hard by the Shadow Walkers. Same thing with the Exalted Lord of Change. Also got pretty good value given the amount of time it was alive, but just every shot landed home with these Shadow Walkers. And their melee stats are okay if they get dove by Furies, which they did at one point. I believe I missed that. But I think these guys are huge, or guys and gals are huge for the High Elves. I think they change a lot of matchups. Getting abused by single entities like the Exalted Flamer or the Exalted Lord of Change has been an issue for the High Elves in quite a long time. I've been putting together a High Elf a guide for every matchup in competitive multiplayer, and as soon as these units were discovered, I mean they've been in the roster this whole time. When I say discovered, one of the community members, Catholic Alcoholic, former season winner, and kind of the community moderator for the multiplayer community, moderator in the sense that all the suggestions pour in from the players about what needs to be buffed and what needs to be nerfed and what needs to be changed. And in Catholic Alcoholic, they kind of filter through those results and then send a reasonable request to Creative Assembly, which then actually has been very receptive to that in recent patches. Sometimes going like change for change and just implementing it straight into the game, which has been really nice. But Catholic Alcoholic showed some testing in the High Elf forum of kind of where like in Turin's Discord for Total Warhammer 3, and it showed some tests with the Shadow Walkers and was like, I don't know, kind of letting everybody know that this unit is pretty serious. And I think they are. I think they're going to change a lot of matchups. Archmage did okay. Turdok Chariots did nice. They ran over a lot of Bloodletters and did a lot of poking. 600 value on them is really nice. I mean, I think they were the performers besides the Shadow Walkers. All right. Well, that was a quick one. So we'll dive into a community casted game here next. For our community match, we're going to have a match here between Fight Hour and Creeper O. Fight Hour is going to be helming the High Elves and bringing a massive Shadow Walkers, 4 of them, yeah. And a really interesting tech that I'm so excited to see how it plays out. Double Mage of Metal with, if we can hover out, too many units in the way, hover over there. Finally, there we go. Plague of Rust. So Plague of Rust will kind of compensate for that lack of armor piercing from the Shadow Walkers. For context, for anyone who doesn't know, Plague of Rust reduces the armor, and if you overcast it, reduce the armor by 60 of units. So let's say a Chaos Dwarf Iron Demon, the kind of quintessential unit for the Chaos Dwarves, which isn't out here now, but it will be. They always have it. Very high armor, chariot single entity that moves around. You could possibly use Plague of Rust, and I believe I saw Techless, who will always have a net on him. Regrowth, yes, and net. Pop that net down, Plague of Rust, 4 Shadow Walkers. You might be able to kill a train all at once, but we'll see. Creeper O definitely will be doing their best to make that not happen, bringing Astrogoth the Iron-Handed with Flamestorm and some other abilities. Flamestorm could do some really nice damage on those Shadow Walkers if they get a chance. It looks like I believe I saw Dragon Princes out here somewhere. Yep, moving into the trees with the Dragon Princes. Possibly going for a long flank around here. Oh, looking to counter maybe my opponent guessed. Or not my opponent, sorry, maybe Fight Hour presumed there were some sneaky goblins in the trees or saw them move out there, sweeping around to check their flank. Always a good thing to do. Chaos Dwarves are going to move their armored heavy infantry up over the rise here and onto Objective 3. The High Elves don't really have any infantry of their own besides the Shadow Walkers to counter this, so Chaos Dwarves are going to take Objective 3. Fight Hour looks like they're playing a type of isolation and kiting style, is moving their cavalry around trying to find some picks, but I keep saying my opponents, sorry. The Chaos Dwarf player is going to be bringing out the Bull Centaur Renders. That will deter these cavalry for Fight Hour from getting anywhere into this back line, especially with Inferno Guard Fireglaves here. Yeah, the High Elf player is definitely going to want to stay back or they would get dumpstered in this engagement. Chaos Dwarfs do take Objective 3, no contest from the High Elves. High Elves going to be... Plague of Rust and the Shadow Walkers are melting these Infernal Guard Fireglaves. Look at that damage. Half health after one volley. There is 4 of them. But with more fire coming in, they are probably just going to take these guys out. It's such a cool unit, the Fire Glaives. Shooting at the mage, pretty accurate that they're doing that much damage. High Elf player probably doesn't care too much because they have another one. But this unit is gone. With their armor down to 40, that concentrated fire is going to melt these Infernal Fire Glaives. And Firestorm looks like it went down from Azdragoth, the Iron-Handed, but Shadow Walkers are very quick, so Fight Hour just moved off and pulled to the side. Going for a flank with the Illyrian Reavers. I don't know about this play. The Bull Centaur Renders are going to clean this up. And Magma Cannons are pretty resilient. You're not going to kill them in just one charge. So I think that was a bit of a value throw. But the Shadow Walker follow-up, the shooting coming in on the Bull Centaurs, net from Techless is going to lock them in place. But they are tied up in combat, so it might be hard to get shots in. We'll see how it goes. Is there armor on these guys? Yeah, don't know if you need the Plague of Rust. Their armor is pretty low. They do have baked-in missile resist, these guys, so maybe not such a bad choice. Might have been better to do it on the Magma Cannon while you had a chance. You could just kite these Bull Centaurs later. Looks like Hobgoblins did come in to clean up the Reavers. This Bull Centaur unit is gone. I mean, big value lead for Fight Hour right now. With those Shadow Walkers just poking away. Azdragoth diving in, but Shadow Walkers are pretty good against single entities, even infantry, so the Shadow Walkers could turn here. But they've chosen the Magma Cannon, and I mean, even without Plague of Rust, they absolutely destroy this thing. Look at that damage, and it's gone. I mean, the poison does reduce the armor anyway, so maybe I suppose you don't need Plague of Rust. More shooting coming in, now going on to Azdragoth the Iron-Handed. Dragon Princes now feel like they can do as they please, and they are diving in. Though the Chaos Dwarves are holding on Objective 3, nothing has been done to budge them off that. Looks like a Flamestorm did hit one of these Shadow Walkers. They are pretty low. Plague of Rust going on to Azdragoth, but the Dragon Princes are going to block up their own shooting here. So I don't know if this is the greatest engagement. Might want to just pull these Dragon Princes back and get some shooting in, which looks like Fight Hour does do. Shooting is hitting Azdragoth and these Chaos Dwarf. Whereas more Bull Centaurs have come in, so the Dragon Princes are going to need to get out of there, looking to clean up these Hobgoblins over here. We're still fighting the same Reaver unit, I think, somehow. Not sure how that's possible. It looks like a missed charge there from the Dragon Princes. Very easy to do in this game. You end up clicking right next to the unit rather than on top of them and end up doing no damage. Sniping, shooting. Look at this. Look at the accuracy of these guys from like halfway across the map, it seems like, and all the shots feel like they are hitting Azdragoth. Could use some juking from Creeper Ode to avoid those, and does do it. You can see some shots went well wide there. Possibly some overextending now from the High Elves. Silver Helms coming in onto the Chaos Dwarves and Bull Centaurs. I think really you could just keep all your cavalry back right now and keep just taking out targets with these Shadow Warriors. Dragon Princes as well may have dug a little too greedily and too deeply, as the Bull Centaurs are a hard counter for them, and they land right on top of those Dragon Princes. And these elite High Elf Cav are not going to enjoy this, especially with the buffering from the little Hobgoblins. Are they Hobgoblins? Yes, they are Hobgoblins, of course, for the Chaos Dwarves on their little wolves. Flamestorm going down on top of the Silver Helms. Reavers again getting crumbled on this flank. The sneaky gets from the trees have come, but the counter sneak attack from the High Elves, Illyrian Reavers, diving in the back, going to do some nice charge damage there. But the other Reaver unit did flee, and the Hobgoblins are countering. Seems like the Chaos Dwarves, they're still down a lot in value, but they are starting to get some solid trades, and those Shadow Walkers are getting dangerously low on ammunition. They seem to be focusing Azdragoth, and if they use all their ammo and don't kill Azdragoth, that could be very fatal, especially with Hobgoblin units getting close. These Shadow Walkers are very bunched up. If one unit right now could shut down all 4 of these Shadow Walkers. On this flank, we did see, it looks like the Bull Centaurs and Goblin Cav cleaned up the Dragon Princes. War Lion Chariot, I like this pick from the High Elf player. You can see the mulching damage these guys are doing on the charge, especially with the White Lions of Trace on top of them. But they do need to be wary of these Bull Centaurs. If the Bull Centaurs and a Goblin unit surround these Lion Chariots, they will be gone instantly. Need to pull them back. Looks like the order was used to pull them back. Very nice, so that will get them to safety. Shadow Walkers coming over to support. One volley from these 4 units on top of that Bull Centaur unit could put them in the dumpster. War Lions of Trace coming in. Looks like the target was on the Bull Centaurs. Yep, fire is coming in. What is the missile resist on a Bull Centaur? 25% isn't bad, and their base armor of 50 is okay. So let's see what type of damage is coming in. Really solid damage coming in. These Bull Centaurs. Oh my god, that could be the best flame storm I've ever seen. Hitting 3 units of Shadow Walkers all at once. This is why you can't bunch up your units in multiplayer. You really have to keep them spread apart, or one spell could ruin your entire day. And you can see the value gap is, it's about 2,000 separated. But now that did a lot of damage. Hitting the 4th unit of Shadow Walkers even. One charge could wreck this entire position from a Hobgoblin Rider unit. Dragon Princes did rally coming in, but they won't do much into Chaos Dwarf Warriors. Plague of Rust going down on the Bull Centaurs. War Lions with the White Lions here fighting, trying to take out the ROR Chaos Dwarf Warriors. Back here on Objective 1, it looks like Hobgoblins did secure it from the Illyrian Reaver attack. Some retreated the woods there. Astrogoth is low, but has snuck around. What are the Chaos Dwarfs going to summon in here? Both players with a very high supply rate. The Kadai Fireborn might not be a bad choice now that the Shadow Walkers are so low on ammunition. They do have pretty high armor and a physical resist on top of that, which will be pretty nice. They will do really well into the armored infantry here of the High Elves, and will be nice mass to counter the chariots. Looks like Astrogoth is coming in. God, what would you even call this guy? I don't think he has his robot legs. I think robot arms. Kind of a Wall-E situation there going on. Kadai Fireborn charging in now that the Shadow Walkers are so low on ammunition. And, well, I mean, ammunition doesn't matter when you're getting hit by giant flaming demons with axes. These guys are going to mulch through these Shadow Walkers. The Shadow Walkers' lack of melee AP will really affect the Mirror Spear unit coming in. That will be pretty decent into the Fireborn. But the Fireborn don't care. They're just going to plow right through and rout these Shadow Walkers, who are probably out of this game. Chariot is bogged down. You have to keep these Chariot units moving, or they will get mulched even by what they naturally counter, the infantry. Looks like Plague of Rust is going down on the Kadai Fireborn, but without much shooting or fall. Oh, there are Dragon Princes. The Fireborn. Oh, could the Fireborn rally the day for the High Elves? These guys, the value has become even now as the Chaos Dwarf player has made some really nice picks after that rough start, and the Fireborn could kind of carry this game for the High Elves potentially. Dumpstering the Kadai Fireborn immediately, going into the Bull Centaur renders right after. I did hear an enemy lord go down, though. It looks like the Chaos Dwarfs killed Teclis. I had not been following that at all. No idea what happened there. But with the High Elf lord going down, that is going to really hurt their chances. That Chariot is still stuck, and some cavalry are coming on top of it. Really need to keep that thing moving. The Fireborn could take just about every unit in the Chaos Dwarf roster right now, though. These guys are incredibly elite. Flamestorm going down on the Fireborn, who do have a fire resist, but they certainly won't like that. Yeah, taking a lot of damage from that Flamestorm. Astrogoth Ironhand is an insane melee fighter, so he will be able to do the damage. Plus, these Bull Centaur renders are a pretty solid counter into Plague of Rust. Isn't going to matter for the armor-piercing Fireborn. Looks like the Fireborn are getting dragged down. In here, the mass of Chaos Dwarf units are plowing their way through these spearmen right now. Over on the flank, the Chariots have been getting some pressure from the Bull Centaur renders. You can see taking a lot of damage. It looks like they are too late to pull back, and they will likely get taken out. Illyrian Reavers here are cleaning up those Hobgoblins from the start of the game on this flank, but things are looking very desperate for the High Elves right now. This Fireborn might be able to chew through these Bull Centaurs. They'll have another Bull Centaur unit to go, but there is no counter right now for Astrogoth, who is just picking his targets off one by one, going to start going after this mage and likely kill them pretty quick. We can see taking immediate damage, that mage, and likely going to rout. Any action on Objective 2? No. Push for Objective 1 from the High Elves unit, Chaos Dwarf Warriors, anchoring that down. Teclis has returned. He took a little nap after getting stabbed a bunch, and he's back, but there's not many High Elf units left to support. Another Flamestorm going to go down on the Fireborn, likely going to take them out. Chaos Dwarf Warriors pulling back to the objectives to make sure they don't overextend. There is a lot of High Elf cavalry. They could possibly make a play over on this flank. They are just Illyrian Reavers, so they are not going to be able to get through these Chaos Dwarf Warriors, and they are stuck without a place to go right now at the moment. High Elves are even down in value. The Shadow Warriors have rallied a bit. They did pick off, it looks like, some Bull Centaur renders, but with really low model count and no ammunition, these guys aren't going to make too much of an impact. Looks like regrowth did go down on the Fireborn from Techless, though only with a few models left, they won't be able to get much HP back. Unit Shadow Walkers coming back, trying to redeem, rescue the game after their great start. I mean, if any unit could do it, they do have some incredible sniping ability, but there is a lot of Chaos Dwarf infantry right now. Fight Hour probably wishing they still had their chariot in some capacity. Going for a desperate play on objective 1 here, needs to get another objective, but the Fireborn and the flanking Hobgoblins, who do have a kind of pseudo-devastating flanker ability, so they will be getting bonus of damage. And these High Elf units are gonna get smacked right now, getting hit on both flanks. Flamestorm, or that was an overcasted net. Looks like it was trying to catch those units on the way in, but was a little delayed. But yeah, that whole position gets folded. Fireborn could dive in, but not going to make any progress. Plague of Rust going down, and the Blazing Beards of Shirk are going to get taken out by the Shadow Walkers, but there's about 4 other infantry units that need dealing with. Objective 2 even could potentially be taken by this unit of Hobgoblin Sneaky Kids. They are not stopped, though. The Fight Hour will be able to see them. Fireborn holding valiantly, trying to make a last desperate play to take out Astragoth, but I think this game is over. I don't think there's really any way back in for Fight Hour. We can fast forward here to the end of things. Yep, charging in, last desperate attempts. Shadow Walkers putting in some nice shots, going for Astragoth, but there's a lot of units around Astragoth, so probably going to be pretty safe from that. Yes. And wow, what a start that was from the Shadow Walkers. I mean, they definitely do fall off once their ammunition runs out, especially when you go for 4 of them. That's a very all-in approach, especially with Plague of Rust. But I mean, hey, it was working. I mean, Bull Centaurs got melted. The Magma Cannon just got absolutely deleted. Let's take a look at the value here. 1,600, 1,700, 2,500, and 2,000. Oh my goodness. With the Plague of Rust buffing them, these guys did some insane damage. Techless didn't get any damage, but he didn't have any damage abilities. And those Fire Glaives got absolutely melted as well. Astragoth, 5,000 value. Wow, Astragoth kind of went insano mode there. It was Astragoth in time, that's for sure. But the Shadow Walkers could have maybe even taken out Astragoth at some point. Yeah, really, I think definitely it was the rest of the High Elf army that struggled to make any headway. The Chariot got pretty good value. Fireborn did well for themselves, but really solid opening from Fight Hour. Just needed a little more follow-up to finish off the Chaos Dwarves. Kadai Fireborn and Bull Centaurs were really cool as well. No Iron Demon Train, was really surprised by that. Chaos Dwarves pretty much always take one, though it was lucky for them they didn't. I think the Shadow Walker play would have really, dominated an Iron Demon. I think maybe for the High Elves you could have dropped 1 Mage of Metal, possibly just done a Metal Mage as your main caster. I didn't see nets come in too often from Techless, so you could have saved some cost there maybe and got some more supporting units. But really cool build. Thank you, Fight Hour, for sending this replay in. It was really fun to cast. Yeah, so that will be it for this one. Really cool tech, the Shadow Walkers. Not even tech. I think you could take these guys in just about every matchup and have a lot of success. I think the Shadow Walkers could be quite meta-changing for the High Elves. I think they unlock a lot of matchups that before seemed kind of very difficult. Like against Chaos Dwarves, that's been one of the tougher matchups for the High Elves. But as Fight Hour showed here, you can open up the game and be dominating things from the start with these guys. guys and gals. Really cool to see. I think I might form some kind of build along these lines, especially into Chaos Dwarves. This is really sweet. That'll be it for this one. Soon I'll be coming out with a full faction overview and guide for the High Elves with all their matchups and some DLC speculation. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.